Andrew Jackson was inaugurated on March 4, 1829 to be the 7th President of the United States. Jackson was born in Waxhaw, North Carolina in 1767, and his rise to fame was through a successful military career as a general in the War of 1812. But perhaps the most famous part of Jackson's career is how he ended up being the face put on the $20 bill. But could it be that this man we have chosen to be honored on our $20 bill has a dark side? And could it be that Jackson has deceived the American people for generations and has successfully covered up what might be one of the worst presidencies in U.S. history? Now let us take a look and explore this dark side of Jackson and find out why he is so infamous between historians today.
Jackson repeatedly displayed disrespect for his office. When he entered office, many government positions were held by men who had been there since George Washington. The United States Constitution granted the president specific powers. The 6 presidents preceding Jackson used these powers sparingly, as the founding fathers had intended. But Jackson was different. During his presidency, he vetoed 12 bills. The first 6 presidents combined only vetoed 10. Jackson considered himself the head of the democracy, and claimed that he was the one best able to represent the will of the people. When the Second Bank of the United States expired in 1836, Congress passed a bill to renew the charter, but Jackson alone decided to veto it. No one understands this better than Bill.
You mean even if the whole Congress says you should be allowed, the president can still say no?
Yes, that's called a veto.
One day, Jackson ordered his Secretary of Treasury, William Dwan, to remove all the funds from the banks of the United States. When Dwan refused, he was removed by Jackson, who thought all the officials were his. Jackson became the first and only president to be censored by the United States Senate. He was censored for withholding documents involving the bank's defunding.
The nullification crisis occurred, like so many conflicts before it, as a battle of interest between the North and South. The origins of this crisis lay in the passing of the tariffs of 1828 and 1832, which helps Northern production by making Northern goods cheaper than foreign goods, but hurts the South by making foreign companies not rely as much on the raw materials offered by the South. The breaking point of this crisis, though, was when South Carolina, led by Jackson's ex-vice president John Calhoun, demanded the tariffs be repealed or they secede from the Union. And while South Carolina's demands were rejected in Congress, they turned to President Jackson, who was a self-proclaimed advocate of state rights, for help. But Jackson decided to show his true side yet again, denouncing South Carolina and state rights and threatening to use military force to march into South Carolina and hang Calhoun from the first tree he finds. This shows how it did not matter to Jackson under what circumstances an event happened, but if anything crossed him or challenged his power, he'd respond with lethal force to protect his pride. And it wasn't until Henry Clay's Compromise Bill that Jackson and South Carolina backed down. But until that point, Jackson was about ready to march into one of the states under his jurisdiction and completely destroy it for trying to protect its own interests. This is the truth behind the president known as Jackson. While he may have been a war hero back in the War of 1812, in office, he was a complete tyrant. He did as he pleased and disposed of those who crossed him to gain and maintain his power. And he truly is deserving of the title King Andrew the First.